talking to no one, this fella.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's show. But before we get into the mix of things, I just wanted to send our thoughts and prayers to Scott Galloway and his partner Lisa Cudahy, whose little 18-month-year-old son was accidentally run over. The anguish must be horrific, and our prayers are with you. Scott's riding colleagues have set up a bank account and welcome any donation which will assist the family in the coming months. For the bank account details, visit Racing Queensland Facebook page. All donations will be, gladly welcome. Now, with loads of news from around the traps, let's get right on into it. And the master plan for Doomben and Eagle Farm, the council have signed off on a new 15-storey racing precinct, which will include parks, shops and great racing for the future and the years to come. This is a great initiative by the BRC and exciting times are ahead. As well, Darley's Arm, Kildangan Stud have taken legal proceedings against Patinack and Nathan Tinkler for unpaid service fees. The woes are continuing for the Patinack team. And Toowoomba looks like it will be heading back to a grass with a decision very close to the fore. Let's hope so, and that hopefully this should increase the betting pool again and increase and improve racing up in Toowoomba. The Jockey Challenge is coming up. We watch Ric McMahon sprint down the home straight in his time trial for the Dash for Cash. Will he surpass Cassidy and Holmes' times? Well, time will tell. So stay with us during the course of the show. And remember, always for the best bets, fixed odds, visit tatsbet.com. As well, we also have an interview with WayneWilson where he talks about semi-retirement and rates his best call and some of the best horses he has seen. As well, he talks about BRC TV at the racetrack. I take you on a quick tour of the Concorde, an interesting insight while I was in Germany into what was once the fastest commercial plane ever. We are back to the track with David Kelly and Paul Hammersley, where we talk about their chances on the weekend. And Paul sends an ominous warning to Larry Cassidy about the Dash for Cash. So stay tuned over the course of the show. We have Gripe of the Week. We also have Question of the Week with 4 tickets to give away. We review the 4-leg quaddie, races 5, 6, 7 and 8. And Test cricket is alive and kicking as Siddles and Duplessis effortless in their attempts. There's no doubt they come from the school of thought that if you haven't spewed on the field, you aren't trying. And joining me is 3-time Premiership winning jockey, Brisbane Premiership winning jockey Larry Cassidy, form analyst Ben Donoghue. And Larry, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jess, and looking forward to a great day's racing tomorrow at Eagle Farm where the summer series heats up.
There's great action ahead of us tomorrow at the BRC. And Ben, welcome.
Yeah, great to be back, Jess, and hopefully a few punters were fortunate enough to jump on Steel Zip at a big price last week.
Mate, it was a great selection, Steel Zip of $17.
Yeah, no, and look, hopefully we'll back it up this week. Many horses returning for the Magic Millions in about 4 or 5 weeks' time. And
I walked off course without my shirt after Rocksan, but nevertheless, let's hope we'll get it back and maybe the coat hanger as well. Now let's get into it, but before we do, coming up, we're just going to show now the Jockey Challenge, highlights of Larry and Patrick running down the straight, and stay tuned during the show where Ric McMahon is running down the home straight. White hope there, Larry, and not a bad effort.
Look, no excuse for me, Jess, but look, in all fairness to Patrick, we both run 17.1, but in fairness to Patrick, he had a sweat gear on and he'd been for a run for about an hour leading up to that run down the straight, so he did have excuses.
He looked a bit tied up in his action there. Now let's get into it. Race 5, the first leg of the quaddie. There's plenty of races coming up. Ben, what have you come up with here?
Yeah, tricky little race punters, a number of good fillies and mares resuming. I see Gerard Ryan sneaks into town with the bottom weight Jester's Girl. I'd assume they're looking for some black type there. I'm going to put the form trainer and the form horse on top. Dreaming Ignite, Mickey Carl, Strut on the Bunny, Keep It Going Son. Second in, Bound to Blush. Johnny O'Sney sneaks up, Muntz goes on board, gets off Risk Aversion, who he rode at a trial at Deegan. I'll put it in for second. Third will be Risk Aversion for Collis from gate 3. If she can reproduce that devastating burst she has, she'll be right in the mix. And fourth up will be Fire Up Fifi for fourth.
Fire Up Fifi. Larry, you haven't got a ride in the race. If you were going to have one, what would you be your pick?
Yeah, I think Risk Aversion, she trialled very well at Deegan and actually beat Steel Zip home in that trial. So if I was riding something, I'd like to be on her. You know,
that's quite a very valid point there in beating Steel Zip. Obviously the form line there is very strong, as proven last week with the selection from Ben there at $16. And I hope you got on, punters. I like number 5 here, Bound to Blush from the John O'Shea stable. I think this filly is very impressive. It's had 7 starts for 4 wins. The leading fact here that's really pushing me towards Bound to Blush is that Chris Muntz has got off Risk Aversion. Now viewers at home, I'm just going to give you a little lead in here. Chris Muntz has ridden this horse 6 times, his previous 6 starts. He has ridden this horse in the trial. He has jumped off it and jumped on this horse from the O'Shea stable, Bound to Blush. I think this is a very good guide and it'll be a very good bet. Now, as Ben mentioned, Jester's Girl, it's come from the Gerard Ryan stable. He's brought this up from Sydney. Now, its form doesn't read the best, but I think this horse has improved. Gerard Ryan wouldn't bring this horse from Sydney for fun. And as Ben alluded to, she is looking for black type, and I'm putting her in for second. Putting in Risk Aversion in for third, as Larry mentioned, did trial very well behind Steel Zip. This will be very competitive. And number 1, Fontantes for fourth, but big weight, 58, will struggle, I think. But I like number 5, Bound to Blush. Now, we're going to catch up. During the week, I caught up with WayneWilson, one of the great callers of our time. And he talked about semi-retirement and what he's doing now. And here we catch up with WayneWilson. Joining me is legend race caller WayneWilson. And Wayne, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Jesse. Great to be here and great to be a part of anything that's racing.
Now tell me, how's life treating you as semi-retired?
Yes, well, I can tell you I've got a great life at the moment. I enjoy my racing so much, and we do a little program on course called BRC TV, and I work with some wonderful people, and we do a service for the on-course patrons, and we put the people who are actively involved in racing to the fore, the jockeys and the trainers, and I think that's what we've got to do. The article that we've got here is the horse, the jockey and the trainer. And if we can line them up as the stars of our game, then that will attract people to the racetrack, because you haven't got that at home. You've got that here at the track. So that's a wonderful program to be involved in, and I enjoy that. But I'll tell you, Jesse, I do miss the calling. I did it for 50 years, and not to be calling nowadays, it tugs at your heartstrings, particularly when the big races come around. But life's pretty good. I'm enjoying what I'm doing with my feet on the ground.
And tell me this, what are some of the best horses you've seen and the best calls of that you would rate one of your best calls of all time?
Dear. I've seen some great horses. In recent times here, Apache Cat. We've seen some Chief De Beers. And probably the best of them all was Rough Habit. I just love Rough Habit. He won 2 Stradbroke handicaps and he won 3 Doomben Cups. And I was wrong in one of the photos of his Doomben Cups as well. But I forgive myself for that, just to see him win. He was a marvellous horse. My call of the 1992 Stradbroke, I rate as one of my best calls.
Hit the lead, look at Rough Habit. Rough Habit's flying on the rails. Rough Habit moved up, grabbed the lead, and he's won the Stradbroke. What a performance. Rough Habit first.
That was the year that Rough Habit won, and he came from an outside alley and weaved his way through the field. But I will say, the year I called the Melbourne Cup, even though I did get a bit of a bagging for it, I say chewy on your boot to those people who bagged me for the call, because I thought it was my absolute great call. Because that Melbourne Cup transcended your normal horse race. it was all about Damien Oliver. And how could you not get involved with Damien Oliver standing in the irons, pointing to the heaven and dedicating the win to his brother? I just feel so privileged that I was involved in that very special moment, not of Australian racing, but of Australian sport.
Well, Wayne, thanks for joining us on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and all the best for today and in the future.
Well, thank you very much, Jesse. And if ever you need a good judge, I'm one of the best judges in Australia. Everyone's after my tips. If you're after a tip every now and then, just give me a call.
Get into all the betting action with TatsBet. Go online. Call 13 19 39. Use the smartphone app or visit your local TAB. TatsBet. More action, more places.
It's great catching up there with WayneWilson, and truly one of the great callers of our time. Now we're going to go into race 6, second leg of the quaddie. Ben, what have you come up with here, mate?
Yeah, I'm going to back up Pepperwood and Lowry stick solid. And there's obviously a reason for that. Pepperwood, with a bit of rain around earlier in the week, 59 kilos won't be a worry. By all reports, he's going very well this campaign. Pepperwood on top. Reluctantly, I'm going to put 15 Carat in for second. I've lost more money than I've won on 15 Carat, but if he can reproduce some of those 3-year-old days where he ran second in or third in a Queensland Guineas and won a Sunshine Coast Guineas, he'll be there, but he went terribly last start. Third, I'm going to put in Rundle. Now, here's a roughie for your punters. Last campaign, you'll notice it had a duck egg beside its name first up. Its run wasn't that bad. I'm going to put it in for third, and fourth, Jesse, just for you, Rocksan. Pepperwood on top, special best bet of the day. Second, 15 Carat. Third, Rundle, and fourth home, Rocksan.
Larry, you're riding one here called Pepperwood that Ben tipped. It can't win. How do you rate its chances?
Yeah, look, Jess, his first two runs, first and second up, were sound. He's drawn one, which is a great gate for him because he gets cover straight away. He's still going to be back midfield, maybe slightly worse, but I'd love to see a shower of rain tomorrow.
Yeah, no, he needs all the help he can get, that's for sure. Now, punters, we threw a bit of Burley last week with Rocksan, but I'm going to put it on top. I'm backing up. I'm going hard on her again. I think she'll win. I've got Rocksan on top from number 5 here, Mr. Light Blue. As well, I like number 4 from number 6. So I like Rocksan, a best bet of the day. Now, when I was away in Germany, I caught up, I went to Sensheim. I met a friend there, Ralph, and he took me to the Auto Technic Museum. Now, it's a bit off tech from racing, but I tell you, the Concorde is one hell of a plane. I think it's well worth watching this.
Here I am in Sensheim, Germany, at the Auto and Technic Museum. Here there are over 3,000 exhibits on display, with more than 300 classic cars, 200 motorcycles, 40 racing cars, and the largest permanent Formula One exhibition in Europe. As well, there are 60 aeroplanes on display, 20 locomotives, and much, much more. And now I'm taking you on a tour of the Concorde, the once fastest commercial aeroplane in the world.
And it's moving as we're walking up here. It's quite spooky actually. And as you can see, this was the seating system.
Very narrow.
It's very narrow. As you can see, just to get an idea. The arm in here, his head is touching the roof nearly, and he'd be 5'8". So yeah, as you can see, that's how wide it is. It's very, very narrow. So where we're walking now, as you can see, there were seats. There's the toilets. Toilet system there for the Concorde. And it only flew to New York 3.5 hours compared to by a normal plane.
Double the time.
Double.
Which took a normal plane flight.
London to New York in 3 hours. And as you can see here, we've got seats on both sides, and it's extremely narrow. Like literally,
This is you
20 stone, no hope of getting through. cockpit of the Concorde. There's a lot of things there. Just Concorde. You get a bird's eye view there and get to Sensheim and see this plane and automobile museum. It's the biggest one in the world.
Get into all the betting action with TatsBet. Go online. Call 13 19 39. Use the smartphone app or visit your local TAB. TatsBet. More action, more places.
Trip that was over in Germany. Wie geht's? Good danke, out good. Now, we like number 4 here, the third leg of the quaddie, race 7. I like number 4, player's choice. I think this is a good bet. I think Nomi Towazawa from barrier 6, I like it on top. From number 7, the Conspirator. Number 2, General Jackson, and 5, Qlighter from the Matty Dunn stable. Ben, what do you like here?
Mate, you're flat out speaking plain English, but I have a go at German. But look, I'm going to put General Jackson on top here. They went mad. They went like last week's pay in his last start. He was entitled to cut up late, and he did. From the 1,000, he'll ping. I don't think there's too many horses that'll go with him. I'm going to put him on top. For second, I'm going to put in Holy Godoli. Its trial was enormous, flashing home late. I'd suggest the 3-year-old Magic Millions is where they're going. He'd want to be putting in a big performance on Saturday. Third, I'll put in Qlighter. Matthew Dunn for Glenn Collis always worries me. And fourth home, Discreet, Kelly Sweeter for Muncie.
And Larry, you're riding number 9 here, Chosen Talent. Looks to have a little bit of promise.
Yeah, he was an impressive winner in a midweek maiden, and obviously jumping up in class to the open 3-year-old grade here, and obviously drawn 16, so it's going to be a bit hard for him, but he's a very impressive looking horse. You know, definitely looks to be one on the improve. Now we're just going to have a quick look here. There's something I looked at YouTube. There was an Arc de Triomphe run this year, and these Japanese supporters thought this horse was home, and coming up now is just a highlight of why we don't go too early. I tell you what, it's happened to me a few times too over the last. What do you think, Ben? Has it happened?
Oh, look, I think it was half a G up. I'm not sure. It looked a bit too staged for me. You don't know what the Japanese are up to.
Now the gripe of the week, track bias. Larry, we just had a bit of a chat before the show. Is there such a thing as track bias? Yeah, Jess, I think there is. It's and I think it's a lot to do with rail placements. You'll see usually on a Saturday we run in a normal position. Midweeks they'll run, say, at 8 metres. They also have a 2 metre, 3, 4, 5, maybe even sometimes 10 metres. With them shifting the rails and certain parts of the track getting worn, and then they shift back in, say from a 6 to a 2 metre, you only have 4 metres of good ground, and that will create track bias. I believe there should only be 2 rail movements, and that's normal and halfway. Ben, thoughts?
I agree with Larry. Normal and halfway.
I think that's a pretty simple solution. Now I'm back to the track where I spoke with David Kelly about his promising horse in the stable, High Sun, and we chat with Paul Hammersley, and he has a little dig at Larry Cassidy.
Joining me at Back to the Track is established trainer on the Gold Coast, David Kelly, and welcome to the show, David.
Hey Jesse, how you going?
Yeah, not too bad. Great to be down here on a nice early morning.
Yeah, no, it's good this time of morning. Best time of the day.
I mean, I'd rather be in bed, but anyway, we're down here. Now, you've got a very up-and-coming horse called High Sun that won last Saturday. Where's his future and where's he heading?
Well, we're going to give him a run in Brisbane in a fortnight's time. There's another 3-year-old over the mile. Whether he goes to the paddock after that or we give him one more, there's a fortnight after that race over the 2,000 for 3-year-olds. But I'll just gauge him on how he goes next start.
He looked to be very promising and looked to be a stayer of potential. Have you got any major events for him coming up?
Well, we'll naturally progress towards the Derby next year over the Winter Carnival. Hoping he can stay the 2400, and he gives a good indication that he's heading that direction.
And what's his sire?
By Hassan, a Patternack Farm stallion.
Do they tend to get the 1.5 mile, the breed?
I think this is the first crop, so we're not too sure. But he's out of a New Zealand mare, so hopefully he can stick the journey.
You also had another winner on the coast, on the Gold Coast, called
Cheval de Fur.
And how impressive was that?
Yeah, he just won easy too. He won his first start by 6.5 lengths, and his win the other day was impressive too.
Now you got one on Saturday running just at the coast.
Yeah, we've got a Class 1 mare there called Let's Party. She won at the Gold Coast first start, and then she runs second, so she's knocking on the door.
So it's a guide to punters. Maybe she could have a few dollars each way on her.
Yeah, for sure, mate. Yeah, she'll run good.
Well, David, how many have you got in work?
We've got about 30 in work at the moment. We had 52 about 4 weeks ago, so it's good to have a bit of a break.
Well, Dave, thanks for joining us on the show and look forward to catching up with you in the future.
No worries. Thanks a lot, Jesse.
Joining me on the show is Paul Hammersley. And Hammer, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jess. Good to be here.
Mate, it was a shame you didn't turn up for the Jockey Challenge a good 3 weeks ago.
Oh, the boys are lucky I didn't turn up.
Well, I'm sure they'll like to see you run down the straight and see what you can do the 100 in.
Yeah, I reckon I'm pretty quick, and I'll give it a shot.
Well, we'll get you up there during the week. Now, you're riding a horse on Saturday, Requested. Bit unlucky, very unlucky last start. Looks to be a great chance again on the weekend.
Yeah, he didn't see much daylight down the straight last start. Only got beaten a couple of lengths. Drawn a nice barrier Saturday, hopefully, and he should be thereabouts.
What happened? You just sort of reared at the start and missed it?
Yeah, the horse can play up. He just went up at the start. That's why he's a little bit slow away. But he weaved his way through a passage till about the last 100 and then didn't see much daylight after that. Went to the line hard held.
Now, how's life in general and the weight and the riding going?
Yeah, riding's starting to pick up. I had a month off over July, August. Went overseas and it was a bit slow to pick up when we got back. But things are starting to tick along quite nicely at the moment. Life in general is pretty good, Living on the Gold Coast, it's pretty hard not to be happy.
Now tell me, where'd you go when you went overseas?
We done a bit of Europe, Dubai, Paris. It was good. It was the longest holiday we've had, and don't worry, I came back like I had a good holiday.
Now tell me, what was your favourite place while you were over there?
Definitely Greece. Yeah, I could get lost there pretty easily.
Like the Greek Adonises, eh?
Yeah, good luck. Yeah.
Well, Paul, thanks for being on the show, and I'm sure you'll come on again in the future, and hopefully to see you in the Jockeys Challenge and at the golf tournament we're going to have for the Winter Carnival.
No, I know I won't be winning the golf tournament, but just tell Larry Cassidy to bring his wallet when we go for a sprint up the straight.
Mate, I definitely will. I'll tell you, I'll be bringing mine as well.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Get into all the betting action with TatsBet. Go online. Call 13 19 39. Use the smartphone app or visit your local TAB. TatsBet. More action, more places.
Summer, Brisbane heats up with the sizzling racing action of the Sky Racing Summer Series. But while the horses are tearing up the turf, you can dress down and spend a relaxed afternoon at the track. Over 5 days from November 24 to December 29, experience real horsepower with a summer vibe. For exceptional value, buy a summer surpass including entry, drink and betting vouchers and more. $50 value for just $25. Tickets are limited. Purchase online at brc.com.au.
Well, Larry, there, Paul Hammersley sent an ominous warning. Bring your wallet with you.
Well, I hope he can bring his because he's got a very short memory because I gave him an absolute flogging at squash.
Yeah, no, that was a good challenge, that one, the old squash one. Now we're looking at it, but before we get on our question of the week, this question, we've got 4 tickets to give away. Last week's winner, Jason Oborn, congratulations. Now the question of the week is, who is the sire of Black Caviar? And remember, you can email us the answer to info@racinginqueensland.com. You can also follow us at Horse Racing Queensland /Twitter. Now, race 8, Ben, what have you come up with?
Yeah, I've got a question for Larry here. You mentioned, requested in that interview with Paul Hammersley. He's most likely to go forward, Larry. You're on Lucky Sound. Gate 1, will you try and kick up, or were you happy to take the sit?
Yeah, Lucky Sound's pretty easy. He's pretty easy sort of horse to ride, and he's very push button, so he's got great gate speed. And from the 1, obviously I'll jump and be positive, and then just see what happens, see what the speed is. I can take a sit if they're going slow. I could lead, but I'm happy to sort of be box seat or just behind them.
Well, mate, he brained him last start, and he's the obvious. He's going on top for mine. I think you'll chalk up 2 winners on Saturday, lads. Pepperwood into Lucky Sound. Second, Matabrahma. He stormed home last start. He's going to be the one stalking you. Jimmy might try and be a bit cunning in the straight, not sure, but he's going to go on for second. Third, Lochiel, and fourth, Tail and All in form for Robbie.
You know, it looks to be a hard horse to beat, Lucky Sound. I haven't had him on top. I like one of the emergencies, number 17, HQ. I tipped it last week, but it was scratched against the White Hope. I think this horse is one to really keep an eye on. Chris Muntz is on board. It's drawn the 6. I'm putting in number 16, requested, as Paul Hammersley alluded to. This horse was unlucky last start to get back, and it'll fly home if it sees a bit of daylight. Number 3, Lochiel. I think this is well in at the weights. It's drawn well. It was wide last start. It's going to get a good run from barrier 5. It's down in weight. I think this will be there and be definitely one for the trifectas. And number 11 for third, Bribey. I tipped this horse last week and I think it'll be running home. Well, that brings us to an end of another show of racing in Queensland. And Larry, it's been great to have you on board again.
Great to be here, Jess.
Ben, best of luck for tomorrow, and I'm sure you've thrown the punters into a few winners.
Yeah, I have punters, and I'll be back in a fortnight.
And next week, Larry and Ben will be away. Paul Knight will be in the saddle. And Priscilla Schmidt, jockey who is on the rise, she'll be joining us in the studio as well. Now we're going to leave you with Ric McMahon's Dash for Cash up the home straight. And signing off for that. And hopefully we see you same place, same time next week. Bye for now.
Get into all the betting action with TatsBet. Go online. Call 13 19 39. Use the smartphone app or visit your local TAB. TatsBet. More action, more places.
Talking to no one, this fella.